In this video, we're going to be covering the unboxing experience and quick setup of this AlphaSync K9 gaming PC. Let's take it out of the box and see what we're working with. Inside of this box, you'll find the AlphaSync system sitting front and center. Before we take the K9 build out though, we're going to remove the included accessory box. This AlphaSync branded brown box has all the cables and dongles and Wi-Fi adapters that you need to get started, but we're going to come back to this in just a moment. This case also has a little bit of film on the top just to protect the radiator grille. That's nicely removed, that was quite satisfying. And then we're also going to open the door up to make sure we remove this foam inside the system itself. This expanding foam is quite clever because it actually shapes perfectly around the components selected. This is another layer of protection in shipping to make sure the system arrives in one piece without a hitch. Once we've done this, we're going to plug our system up with power, internet, and our display cable to make sure we really are ready to go. That's where the included brown AlphaSync accessory box comes into play. If you open this, you'll first and foremost find a quick start guide, which also has all the frequently asked questions that you might have about your AlphaSync system. You've also got a handy place to fill out your order number and order details in case these are useful a little bit later down the line. Inside this box, you'll find all the documentation included with the components. But importantly, you'll also find these Wi-Fi antennas, which we're going to come to in just a second. In the meantime, we're going to take our power cable, which looks a little something like this and is a standard kettle lead connector. We're going to take this power cable and plug it into the power supply situated at the bottom of the system and ensure the switch is set to 1. We're also going to plug in those Wi-Fi antennas to the two gold connectors situated just below the graphics card at the rear of this system. Handily, the Wi-Fi antennas can be positioned towards your router if needed for added signal strength, but we should be okay with this system. We're next going to spin the case back around and grab a monitor so we can plug this system into the right display connectors and get gaming. Finally then, before we boot the system up, we're just going to plug our monitor cable up. A HDMI or DisplayPort connector will work well. Just make sure you plug into the graphics card specifically here, not to the rear of the motherboard, as this is what we want for that optimal gaming performance. And it's time to power this system up for the very first time. I'm seeing RGB lights already. The magnetic doors on this case also open, so we can get a closer glimpse at exactly the specifications of this system. With the door open, we can take a closer look at the components of this system, which are really exciting. We've got an RTX 3090 at the centre with 24GB of VRAM. This card is insane and sits at the bleeding edge of gaming performance in 2021. When coupled with the latest Core i9 from Intel, it makes it a fantastic system not only for gaming, but also for streaming, video editing, and professional workflows. You've got Corsair RGB to match the overall Corsair chassis, as well as a 240mm Corsair liquid cooler. And all in all, this is a fantastic looking and performing system in the AlphaSync range. We're going to boot some games up in Windows in just a second and have a little bit of fun with this AlphaSync PC build. So we've jumped into Cyberpunk first off, the game that is notoriously difficult to run, and the frame rate looks really fantastic. We're in an area where the ray trace lighting and shadows are really showing themselves and are actually going to be quite intensive for our graphics card. We're sitting around about 70 frames per second, even in these really bright scenes, and I think the game looks amazing. That RTX 3090 and Core i9 combo handling Cyberpunk with absolute ease. We're actually running this on a Neutron Lab monitor and it's showing off the colours in terms of ray tracing and the neon really well. Even sitting at this angle as well, the viewing angles are pretty good, which is nice and really helps us get that optimal gaming experience. This particular panel is 4K as well, which we're really going to take advantage of in a couple of the other titles that we'll test today. The next game I want to jump into is GTA 5. We're going to test the game's inbuilt benchmarking mode, and you can see here we're actually running at full 4K resolution on this Neutron Labs monitor. We've got the rest of our settings set to high with those render bars in the middle, which from my experience is going to help us out in terms of performance. Not that this system needs it, as we'll see. Let's run the benchmark test and see what kind of frame rates we're able to achieve. So straight out of the doors, we're at about 125, 130 frames per second. Visually, the game looks amazing. It's super duper sharp. And if we can have that frame rate the whole way through, then This is going to be one awesome gaming experience. Here we go, even higher now, 150, as we see the fake Hollywood sign in the GTA benchmark. That's not too bad going at all. In fact, it's awesome, but still sitting around about 135, 120 frames per second. Not too bad at all. Okay, so the frame rate's now kind of jumped up a little bit to 130 frames per second, which is not 150 frames per second, which is kind of crazy. This system is dealing with the GTA 5 benchmark without any issues whatsoever, which, let's be honest, was kind of to be expected. Next up then is Call of Duty Warzone, and I'm really interested to see just how well this 3090 system performs in Warzone itself. We are dropping in, it's getting exciting. Straight off the bat at 4K, this is looking pretty awesome already. Well over 100 frames per second, which really helps in the performance department and is going to give you that all-important edge in gaming. In terms of shadows and light and reflections as well, the game is also looking, I mean, look at that. We're still over 100 frames per second as well, which is really important if we're being honest about it. Boom, look at that. Where's his squad? There's his squad. His squad have come and found me. On that note, there is also one more thing I want to play about with this AlphaSync system, and that's actually the lighting. So we're going to head into the lighting software, and we can customize all these purple lights to basically show whatever we want. The software is called Corsair IQ for this system, and if we load that up, it's going to give us all of our connected RGB devices. I'm going to have a play around with our RAM RGB first off. We can go to lighting effects, we can hit plus, and then we can go through all sorts of effects. So currently there's a rainbow wave, which looks really, really nice. We can then increase the speed of this as well. So that's going to be like a little bit too quick for my liking, but still quite fun. But there's loads and loads of effects here. So we can have a static color. So we can just go for, you know, a reddy pinky color. That looks quite nice. Or we can do something a little bit more sophisticated and go for rain. Now here, we can choose what colors we want to alternate. So we're going to go for, I think, a bit of a light blue. We're also going to mix this up with a little bit of orange, because why not? And that actually doesn't look too bad. We can also use instant lighting at the top and select, say, you know, the color red, and that will make the whole system red. So we can have a whole system color. So we've got AlphaSync red going on at the moment. We can also switch it up and do system-wide fancy lighting effects as well. And on that note, that wraps it up for our unboxing experience and system overview of this AlphaSync K9 system. Thanks once again for watching, and hopefully we'll see you soon.